sipping bread and ham together with a passion. Gingerbread, punch a crème and sorrel. A glass of local wine went to his head. He turned to me and said, "Oh yes, truly Christmas is the best." Is the best, is the best, truly Christmas is the best, is the best, is the best. Then my visitor asked me to canter, and me canter just for him to baila. He said, "Paris is sweet, and I love this soca beat."
Welcome, welcome everyone back to Yellow's Eco program on UNC USA. I have Mr. Suman Singh and Mr. Ken Dalchan with me here tonight. And gentlemen, we saw some latest development in the country where we are granting the U.S. access to our airport for the military aircrafts, and I'd like to get your input on that. We also saw VP Delcy threatening Trinidad and Tobago were cutting the gas contracts away from TNT, and Dr. Mulilal had some advice for VP Delcy on that. But I'd like to get your input on that situation before we continue with Dr. Mulilal's message.
Ahmad?
Well, it's always a good thing that the U.S. we granting the U.S. access to overfly Trinidad and Tobago in the upcoming period. I mean, it's going to give us a certain measure of more security on both air, sea, and land, and that anything that will help us in the crime initiative is definitely a plus for us as a country going forward. So hats off to the government for recognizing that main scourge, that skull crime. That is one of the campaign promises on which the UNC government took, as part of their manifesto or manifestos to help solve the crime problem. And already we are seeing a dent in the numbers. That means a dent in the numbers of homicides as well as serious crimes. So all that augurs well, and I'm not to go against that initiative. I see this as a positive sign, and I'll fully support it. I see Gary's favorite Bob Mamsell flying around, So it sends a positive measure to the population that, some things that happen in the fight against crime, and it's a positive thing happening around. So I guess we should all be contented with what the government is doing. They are trying their best, even though some people on the opposite side are saying otherwise. They want the radars and so on removed and all this blah, 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 blah. So I don't know what they have against the falling crime rate, but it's something that they couldn't put a handle on. So now that this government is doing their utmost and actually bringing down the numbers, bringing down the numbers. And well, I can't see or understand the reason why they are against such a move. But that's my take on it. Ken?
Ken, the thing about it, guys, the thing about it is it is disrupting, as far as I'm concerned, some people's cash flow. You
Hmm.
understand?
You're right.
So,
That's correct. Correct.
and these Batty Mamzels that I love so much is giving us a higher level of border security,
Hmm.
that is causing some people to cringe.
Yes.
We have threatened their, their very livelihood. We are disrupting the flow,
Sure. Right.
and
Flow of
so
a lot of things. Flow of
yeah,
people. Flow of drugs. Flow of ammunition. The whole flow of everything.
Uh,
Is a
was
flow.
was some other I mean, look, we are in the ideal geographic location there. At some point in between Trinidad and Venezuela, it's like 7 miles, right? And
Yes.
seeing that the Trump administration has sort of clamped down the U.S.-Mexican border, these drug
Hmm.
dealers and traffickers, and again, this is a multi-billion-dollar global industry, right? Where the majority or the main supply of cocaine and drugs originate out of Colombia, right? They are going to find ways. They're not going to just shrivel and roll up and die and go away. They're going to
Hmm.
continue to find different alternates to smuggle that drugs, to continue to keep that pipeline flowing. And Trinidad, unfortunate to say, we are just so close to Venezuela, it makes us very vulnerable. Now, the last 10 years, when we saw the government, right, fell asleep behind the wheel, I don't know if it was deliberate, right? We saw a deterioration where the borders were basically left open. It's like you have a security gate and you just left it open, right? For anyone to move in and out with any sort of item, illegal items, guns, illicit drugs, livestock. I think the agricultural department, their ministry, they intercepted livestock, um, human trafficking, right? We had close to 100 people
Hmm.
unaccounted for disappeared from Trinidad, right? Maybe kidnapped
Yes.
and in
Yes.
Venezuela and probably deemed dead, right? This is why I always like to say that the record 624 homicides last year under the PNM government, those numbers could have been way higher. Though we could have probably exceeded 700 easily, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so
It's
now
not
we
a
start
it's not a
starting
true reflection.
correct. What's
I
that?
say
The
it's not a
620,
true reflection.
the 624?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
look,
not a true reflection. It could
there's
very well be much more than that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I believe look, anyone could agree with me that the country has morphed into a very violent, place since the PNM took power in from 2015 to last year when they left, right? What we are dealing with, the level of crime, the amount of illegal guns flowing on the streets there, the amount of crime, uh, such as robberies and very violent crimes like home invasions and stuff, all involve illegal guns. Long ago, a man come with a knife and just stick you up and say, "Hey, let me get your money." You don't see that stuff anymore here. We have long gone, graduated from that. Now the criminals are walking around with AR-15s, military grade rifles and weapons that could match or equal or exceed that of the police force. So yeah, so now we have a government that's taking charge, taking control, and we have partner in that sense where we allow the US now to use our airspace, right? The Venezuelan government has made threats. They have said that numerous times that Trinidad is a part of Venezuela or once was a part of Venezuela, and they might think about taking it back, right? Or returning it to Venezuela. I don't know how they want to achieve that, you know. Um, but the defense minister mentioned that um, to the Venezuelan people. And also they are threat also to Guyana, where they tried to annex almost, I think, two-thirds of Guyana,
Yes,
right?
the
Essequibo,
Essequibo
yeah,
region.
saying that
Yeah.
that belongs to Guyana, right? Sorry, to Venezuela, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Venezuela, now that they're getting some pressure from the United States, we have to partner with the right military, forces to ensure that there's some sort of stability, right? That the right government is instated there, right? Um, and this guy, Maduro, is ousted out of power, and some sort of dignity and decency is restored to the people of Venezuela, because we have seen the mass migration all over to the US, to Trinidad, right? And I just want to focus on Trinidad. It has created a strain on us with our resources and stuff. Look, I'm not saying anything bad about the Venezuelan people, right? There are a lot of people who are trying to escape from persecution, trying to just survive, right? I've heard stories where some of them would come and they would purchase their basic food stuff and take it back to their family and relatives in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
just like what we're facing here in the US with the Trendy Agra and all these gangs and stuff, when you have an open border that's not that where there's no checks and balances, right? No one is vetting anyone coming, across at the middle of the night with a boat, with a car, with some sort of shipment of cargo. Nobody's checking that, right? What's going to happen? It creates a window of opportunity for the bad eggs in society to infiltrate, bring all the drugs, bring the guns and stuff, and partner with our local criminals, and it just compounds on the problem, right? Out of control crime and lawlessness. And the government in the last 10 years allowed this to fester, allowed this to grow without really creating
Mm-hmm.
any sort of strategic plan to address the problem. So now we have the US intercepting drugs in the last day before yesterday within a 24 period. We almost took in close to $250 million worth of drugs in around in a 24 period, right? So it is a big plus. And when it comes to security and safety, having the US in our airspace is a big plus for us, right? Since we have been threatened, right? We're a sovereign nation and we have been threatened by the Venezuelan government. So, yeah, so the US presence there will provide some sort of security and safety for us in the event that, Venezuela were to try to, drop a missile or a bomb or something on us. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
7 miles off the coast there, Samad. So
Yes,
I
yes.
feel much safer. And I think the people are trying to make us to feel much safer. So yeah, so I think it's a
Definitely.
big plus, and I welcome the US. I feel much safer there, right? Just knowing that we have the planes and the high-tech military equipment, right, to monitor and to knock down any potential threat. So yeah, so I'm very happy to see that the Prime Minister took that initiative and took that stance to say, hey, yes, we will allow you and we'll grant you the access to our ASPs.
And not only that, Ken, she took a lot of flack for the rest of the people in the Caribbean as well, their Caribbean neighbors. And so now they were saying this is a zone of peace. Why we should not get involved? But you know what? None of them suffered the influx of migrants as Trinidad did.
Correct.
So they
Correct.
can speak as much as they want. When the problem directly affects you, then you alone knows what
And just to
the fallout is going to be.
very good point. And just to reiterate, they are hundreds of miles away. We're just 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela, right? They don't have to deal with that. They don't have to deal with the influx and their resources being stretched, right? So yeah, so I mean they could say whatever they want, right? And they could ridicule and say whatever they want about the prime minister. But we have to secure our citizens, right? And she is doing the right thing. Unfortunately, to say the last government failed to do that. And we do not want to go down that road again. We're dealing with this high crime and the remnants of what the PNM left, right? A country in a state of lawlessness. 624 homicides in 2024, right? And just 2 years prior to that, a record of 605 in 2022.
Yes.
God alone knows if they were still in power, what we would have been dealing with. Maybe 700. We probably would have been floating with 700, 800, 100, with maybe hundreds of persons missing. So yeah, at some point we need to take back the country from the criminals. The prime minister is doing it with all our team, and we have to support her regardless of what the opposition say. And because now they're starting to expose themselves, and a lot of questions are going to be raised here. How are you guys so adamant about getting rid of this radar when this thing is intercepting drugs, right? Why is it that you guys don't want the military presence, in and around Trinidad? Is it you have a vested interest with the people who are involved in this narco, drug trade? So we have to ask these questions. Sumat?
It's the
Yes.
obvious, guys. I mean, far as I see. Go ahead, Suman.
No, definitely, I agreed with Ken. Exactly, he hit the point. And we all feeling a greater sense of security and safety with the presence of the U.S. military in and around the Caribbean. Um, and the Prime Minister, I think, wisely approved of the flying in and out of our airspace. That is, I think, it's tightening up the level of control and surveillance, which was absent over the past 10 years or so. So now that we have some greater control, a lot of U.S. visibility in the region, and that it has been accompanied with a lot of benefits to Trinidad and Tobago, both economic and security benefits. So it is always a plus, plus, plus for us to go down this route. And as Ken said, that he considered what reason there's opposition to this, but we all know somebody's cash flows have been affected big time. And the result of that is that they do not want to have this radar in the region, because if this is something permanently set up, then who knows? We may have to sell. They may have to sell Bali's house
And
or
Suman,
default on it.
you make a good point there with this drug trade. This drug industry and these narco terrorists, they have their tentacles all over the place. They could buy and sell
With a lot
politicians
of
like
governments,
commodities, right?
a lot
And
of
if you don't
governments in
comply,
the region.
they get rid of you, right?
Hmm.
So they're very, very
That's
powerful
right.
people. And we need the US to deal with them. Nobody else in the planet could deal with these narco terrorists except the United States with the help of the US military, you know.
Correct.
But let me just look at something here. For example, you know, the Russians have been in Venezuela. China has been in Venezuela also. And what if there's some sort of partnership and exchange of weapons, sophisticated weapons in Venezuela, right? That is a big threat to us. So having the US have access to our airspace and so forth in the event of anything, at least they can take control of the problem.
But
You
Ken,
know,
Venezuela brought the Iranians, the Russians, I mean the Chinese, all kind of military there. I mean, we had no say in that. But all of a sudden, because we have the U.S. coming in and out of our country, it's a threat to them. That's showing the obvious. And then the PNM and the media in Trinidad and Tobago seems to be working on
Correct.
behalf of the Venezuelan government, right? And doing everything to instigate the people to rise up against the government and the prime minister for her actions and decisions. We did run on the premise that we're going to secure the country and we're going to put an end to the nonsense. And this
correct.
is the route that we took.
Yeah, correct. Now, Gary,
And always, yes,
as you said, the Russians, the Chinese, everybody have been in Venezuela, the Iranians, right? And these countries, they produce a lot of sophisticated weapons, hypersonic missiles, right? What if they have already staged these missiles strategically throughout Venezuela? That is a very, very big threat to us. And every Trinidad and Tobago citizen should appreciate what the US is doing and what the Prime Minister is doing to eradicate or to lessen that threat, right? Because if it is that someone fires a hypersonic missile there, right, at us, and we're saying that, hey, US, you know what, you can't really come into our airspace because blah blah blah. Our neighbors up the islands there, they're saying that there's a zone of peace and blah 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 and so forth. You have the prime minister, the president of Venezuela, and the vice president threatening us. The minister of security and defense defense in Venezuela has threatened us, right? So we cannot sit around with and take these threats lightly. We have the US there, we have the support, and we're not paying for it. And right away we benefited also because we intercepting all these drug boats and these tons of drugs, not kilograms or 100 kilograms of tons of illegal drugs that would have hit the streets and poisoned our kids. You know. So yeah, so anyone who objects to this, we have some questions to ask you, right?
Yes.
We have some
Absolutely.
serious questions, and we'll start with the basics first. Why is it that you're
Right.
so adamant to get rid of this radar equipment or this drug fighting equipment that the US has provided us, free of charge to help us, in the war against drugs? Maybe you're involved somehow, some way, you're directly, indirectly involved, I
Well,
mean,
that
there's no other
wouldn't
way I could think
surprise.
of. There's nothing I could think of,
No,
right?
there's no way around that. That's the natural conclusion is, and you hear it from the parliamentarians who
Yeah.
represent
So,
these constituencies.
so they're exposing themselves by the
Correct.
position that they're assuming that they're taking here, right? And
Yes.
now we know who is who in this playing field here, right? Who is your friend and who is your enemy, you know? So
But I
anyone
don't
who
know.
facilitates drugs is the enemy. Anyone who is involved with that drug trade is the enemy, right? Because it shows that you're not good for society, by
Mhm.
helping to peddle this poison that creates so much social problems, crime, addiction, cost of lives. So yeah, so we need to continue to fight the good fight.
I mean, who we really have seen that the police arrested and prosecuted so much before? It's mostly I see is the small guy, who have a little bit of weed and stuff like that. We haven't seen any big, large scale, big fish locked up and prosecuted by the police. Have we seen that
Gary, again,
No,
these are
in the last
billion
10
dollar.
years? Have we seen that?
We haven't seen that, right? Gary, again, this drug industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you don't know who they have already bought out, right? How deep they have the tentacles in the system, you know.
yes.
But the people who are now exposing themselves, we have to ask the questions,
But
right?
I mean, look how this situation of upgrading the security of the country has sent them Bazwadi.
Yeah,
And there's a THA election on the 12th of January, and all the opposition forces against the THA, current THA, they all gang up to kicking up against it. They were one day radar removed from Tobago. So again, it tells you where people thought processes are, man. By the
but
way, Gary and Ken, I don't know if you all know much about hypersonic missiles, but it will take less than 5 seconds to reach Trinidad. You know that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
A hypersonic missile flies at basically Mach 8 and above.
Yeah.
So, by
We
the
need to
time,
have some kind of system to deal with that, right?
but we don't have anything. We have to thank the Americans that they are here to can provide the satellite coverage and determine where the missiles originate from and blah, 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 and hopefully have the capability to shoot it down.
Correct.
Because these things fly about 3-4 times faster than a bullet. So
Yeah.
where is our sense of security if the Americans, and I'll tell you, we'll be scared all along. We'll be, very
Yeah.
tense going forward. So we have to be thankful that they are here.
The whole
And
country has to be thankful there, right? For the US presence. And you made a very good
that's what-
point. Hypersonic
yeah.
missile moving in 5 seconds or in Trinidad on us. No time to react. We're dead. Right?
Lessons
Mass
best
destruction.
in that time.
Right?
And
Imagine that
the
drop in Port of
reason why-
Spain. Imagine that missile drop in Port of Spain or one of our capital cities,
Mhm.
San Fernando, Port of Spain, Chaguanas. You know what people are going to die there?
everything is
so we have
rattled.
to be
The whole
very
rattling is like
thankful.
an earthquake when a
We have to be very
hypersonic
thankful for the
missile hit,
US, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago
and
should not be
I,
fooled by these politicians who are trying to peddle a false narrative here, right? That we've been invaded by the radar, all this nonsense. I mean,
and yeah, but worst of all is their constituents, you know, that may that right now they're the ones affected. We can tell from their utterings, the MPs' utterings, that their constituents are affected. So they were benefiting all the time from the loose legislation that was in effect. And now with the passing of the FUL and all this home invasions legislation coming into place, their livelihoods are being threatened. And so the politicians are the one who is driving this process among their own supporters. So that is something we got to note, and not only the politicians themselves, but if the people don't sit back and recognize that, what, man, all of us are threatened. If a bomb is dropped in any part of the country, all of us are affected by it. So do you think they will discriminate between who is paying them and who is UNC at that time? No way.
Yes. When
All
the
of
day a
us
bomb
is
drop somewhere in Port of Spain or Chaguanas or San Fernando, any part of the island, thousands of
people's
persons are going to die,
family,
tens of thousands, innocent
friends and
lives.
family and so on.
Yeah.
Yes. So
You
they
don't care if
don't
you have a party
recognize.
card or the UNC or the PNM or what party you're in, right? When a bomb drops there, it kills people from a radius,
No.
But yeah, we have to now think about our safety and support the US initiative and support our government, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime
Yes.
Minister, right? That this thing is getting very serious.
Well,
And we have
it's
to
a
now,
partnership, Ken. It's a partnership,
yes, definitely.
between us and the U.S. It's a joint venture, and we seeking our interest in securing our border. And I mean, the U.S. has other interests, in the region, but I mean,
Right.
it's a dual interest here. So it's a
Correct.
partnership. So
Definitely.
so that's the way I see
Yes.
it.
Is a
Well, we also benefited from the tariffs, right? The reduction and removal of the tariff from
yes.
some of our goods exports, right? So that's a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting free security, right? We're intercepting drugs. That's coming onshore, right? And hopefully we should see a reduction in crime, right? Because
Well,
these drugs,
we all our helicopters were suspended by the previous administration. They didn't see any use for it, right?
and
I
again,
mean, look
Gary,
at the
why is that?
quality. This kind of equipment that's flying over our country and surveying and doing surveillance for us is in our best interest.
That is correct, right? But we
Correct.
have to ask ourselves, why did they have the helicopters and the boats and stuff parked up there? And there's no diesel for these Coast Guard boats, vessels to monitor the borders. Why is that? We have to ask these
I think
questions.
that was done deliberately, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
of
is it
course,
that,
it
that
was
this
done
kind of
deliberately.
in the port all of a sudden wasn't functioning, or was broken, right? And wasn't repaired, you know. So
And
again,
a lot,
we need to
a lot,
clean up.
a lot of things were done deliberately to victimize the progress that was made under UNC, under the partnership government at that time. I mean, look at the schools, look at the Day Bay campus, look at the hospital, COVID children, look at these things. They closed down the nursing center, training center in El Dorado. Look at how much, what
Yeah.
about the amount of vacancies that left unfilled in the teaching service, the
Yeah.
nursing service, and so on, the public service, and what have you.
So
A
Madam,
lot
I'm
of
glad
cases.
you brought that point up. But also, look at the infrastructure, the roads. I've lived in the country, I mean, most of my teenage life, I've been back and forth. I've never seen the roads in that neglected state. You know, I mean, it is horrible, right? And it is as though you go to any of the UNC constituencies, it's like it was left neglected, right?
Everything was left to
Potholes,
rot.
you know. So yeah, um, and that is sad because you know what? We're all Trinidadians, and we should all have the right to benefit equally, right? And that's how I see
Yes.
it. Not be
Well,
selective and say, well, you know what? We're going to take care of the PNM constituency and forget about the UNC constituency and all this other stuff. You know,
what that is,
today I saw a video with this guy name miss me there. Um Alexander.
Project Alexander. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was up in I believe in somewhere in Francois Valley, they're up there, Belmont or something, also part of
Belmont.
his constituency. And he was talking to a councillor there, and they were talking about cutting the grass, and he was going to get the minister to come in there, and they would try to get some resources to clean up the place. Even that area was left neglected, right? Now, in a PNM constituency, it was left neglected. The grass, I mean, is like a forest inside the road there. And they were asking for gas and some resources, and he said, well, he's going to bring in the minister there, and they're going to work on and try to fix and beautify the place, right? So we have to work on the entire island and try to clean up and beautify and restore it and give it a facelift. Because the last 10 years, the whole island was neglected. Every single thing was neglected there. Roads, infrastructure, buildings, you name it, right?
Yeah, not to mention the level of maintenance that was left to foster man. Everything became more or less dilapidated buildings. You see some of the buildings there that it was like an embarrassment to see some of the flags being draping some of the buildings at Independence and Republic Day. And you can see, I mean, I had never seen these things because around this time, around Independence, Republic, you tend to pressure wash your buildings and have the place clean and looking nice. And here is it that, you see all these police stations, health centers, big government offices, you have these flags draped across
So,
the like moss and
yeah,
grime and all this sort of thing. It says a lot about, how we view maintenance in the
yeah.
country.
And you just mentioned police stations. The vehicles also, we saw some videos where a bunch of vehicles were just parked and abandoned and neglected because of the
Yeah,
lack of repair and maintenance, right?
that was like,
Now the Honorable Prime Minister has restored a bunch of vehicles, and he have assured the country that hey, the police force is going to be well equipped with ample resources, right, to fight crime, and these vehicles are going to be commissioned and placed on the road, right,
yeah.
to secure our communities from this rampant crime and lawlessness that has come over the island over the past 10 years. It's like a dark cloud that can't seem to go away. But again, the Prime Minister is doing everything in her capacity to ensure that people are trying to be safe,
I
right?
don't
By
think
res-
I don't
but
think can we understand the gravity or decay which has been left for the UNC to clean up.
yeah,
Not only decay, but also in the form of any sort of development. Because I cannot put my finger on any big development projects that were done over the past 10 years. So there was no progress, no growth in the economy on how to arrest certain city. Crime has been allowed to fester. With crime comes a lot of economic negativeness, and nobody is willing to come to invest in the country. A lot of tourists are staying away or shying away or going to other islands, and so on. So the whole level of economic activity, there was little or no construction going on in the in
when you
the
don't have the experience
areas.
and the vision, right, and you
Yes,
don't have a plan, a good, well vetted, viable plan to move things, forward, you're spinning top in mud. And what we saw in the last 10 years is exactly what reflects the level of leadership, right?
Yeah, and
You know,
it starts
and
from the
anybody wants to say, well, I'm just talking because I feel to talk here. Well, let's just talk about some numbers. 624
yeah,
homicides less last year.
yeah, yeah,
And
that's
2 years
what I
prior to
said.
that,
Yeah,
605. Since we get independence, Subad, we never seen this type of numbers,
correct.
right? We've never seen this type of numbers.
And I
You
can
know,
tell you
and let me
one.
not let me also mention the person, the number of persons gone missing, 100 plus persons, right? So it's a very, very violent place that the PNM has left for us over the past 10 years because of their failure to protect the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, which is their
Yes,
right to
and
safety.
that is just one area, safety and
Now, Gary,
security.
just put up some statistics there, right? Almost 46%, same time last year till now, right? Reduction in crime from 381 to 206, right?
175 persons less
Yeah,
murders.
yep,
You
yep.
know.
561, same time last year to now 333, which is a reduction of about 40.6%. This
Man,
is hard numbers in
200.
your face. It shows progress. It shows that the government has a plan and it's working, right? And they're working overtime. Over, we came in power and we hit the road running, right? Because we were dealing with a runaway freight train here when it comes to crime. So
Correct.
yeah, so the proof is in the numbers there, from last year to
Yeah,
now.
that's one thing. You can't fool anybody with numbers.
With
The data always
exactly,
reflects. The
right?
data always reflects what's going on in the economy. As I said, this is only one aspect, crime. But what about the other aspect? Nobody's coming to invest in Trinidad. No exploration, no deep sea drilling, nothing, no activity, economic activity. You tell
Well,
me they have not resuscitated anything, cocoa, rice, sugar, nothing happened. Okay, that's the agricultural sector. What about the fishing sector? Same problems going along with every sphere of activity. How many SMEs, right? Businesses, over 4,000, man, over 4,000 small businesses collapsed because they couldn't get the foreign exchange. They have to pay, monies to the underworld for protection money, as they say, and so on. All these things continue to fester. So they had no other choice but to close up shop. So, and these small SMEs are the driving force of the economy. They employ the 10, 12, 20 people and so on. So can you tell me how many people went left on the bread line with no jobs and no future? And you can see that in the amount of graduates not having anything meaningful to do. A lot of doctors and engineers on the bread line. Um, a lot of positions were not filled in the various ministries, in the public service, in the civil service, in the teaching service, and what have you. So it was a general across the board decay of the economy
the,
of Trinidad and Tobago.
decay to the highest level. Samad, why is it that small business, and I'm glad you mentioned small micro enterprise here, right? These are people who are now starting out, right?
Mhm.
And some are already established also, yes, I would agree. You have to pay VAT, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your interest on your loans, and then you have to come and pay these criminals tax
Pro-
also for
Protection
protection,
money.
or else they come in to
Mhm.
kidnap you or shoot you or something like this,
Yes.
right? That is a recipe for disaster. If you want a country to collapse, right, you allow that to happen. Just allow that to grow and expand, right? And the whole place will collapse because micro enterprise and small business, they are the drivers of the economy, hiring people, right?
Sure, right. Yes.
Ensuring that the things are money is circulating. Think about the
And,
amount of employment. Even people
and
selling doubles.
that is the sector that drives the economy, because these are the innovators. These are the guys who make and invent things, invent commodities, invent goods and services to sell to the outside world. And when you stagnate these people with all these unnecessary burdens, and on top of that, you have to pay protection money. And on top of that, you can't even get the foreign exchange because the monopoly with the foreign exchange, only the big boys, the 1%ers getting it. So they had no other option. They didn't have no other option but to close up shop.
Yeah.
And that
And,
has resulted in the economy
and
experiencing negative growth.
correct. And
So,
sad to say, some of the businessmen were killed also. Their families
mhm,
were kidnapped, right? And this is what we've had to deal with. This was what was allowed to grow and expand in the last 10 years. The
so
whole,
you
the whole
see,
crime
Ken,
and
when I
criminality.
when I say the system, all the systems and all the ministries, starting from the top end, starting from the judiciary going back, they were allowed to rot, basically. And that has put us in a stage where I have some doubts in the ability of the current regime to fix all these things in such a short space of time. You know, it's going to take a Herculean effort to bring back this country to normalcy first, and then on a growth path. Because first have to arrest the situation, stabilize everything, and then now try to grow things bit by bit by bit,
Right.
every quarter like that.
But Sumant, I like to be optimistic, and I like to look at the
Yes,
numbers,
yes,
right?
yes.
Crime is crime. The homicides are coming down, right? And we saw that 40 and 46% and 40% reduction, right? I
Welcome,
believe,
Dr. Ramup. Dr. Ramup in the house. Doc, you in Canada still or back in TNT?
TNT now.
Oh, in TNT.
All
Okay,
right.
good, good. Yeah.
Doc, how you going?
Quiet, just relaxing.
Nice
Well,
one.
we're trying to recap on some of the ongoing, items, the U.S. presence, crime, the neglect, 10 years of neglect,
Right.
with the
Yeah.
infrastructure. Doc, let
Yeah.
me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How is the roads, the roads on you know, your area there over the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I could only compare. If I was just living in Trinidad, I would say not so bad because it's passable, and I mean it's fine. There's no big potholes and things as such. Most of the times I think that they try to repair the holes. They don't last extremely long. I mean, in the Siparia, South Siparia Aaron Road, which is the road that I live in, where the boss is living in, from San Fernando to pretty much, I would say, Pinal, as far as I go down. There's not much really bad spots, two areas in Barapur, but most areas are okay. But when you compare it with some of the secondary roads in Canada and the highways in Canada, where they always kind of keep it smooth and level. It's not so much the smooth; it's just the bevel. Biggest problem, Ken, as you know, is the shifting soils we have here because
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Tapati mud, which runs almost through the entire country. Is that the land moves so that when you build a highway, no matter what, the surface doesn't remain level. So on the highway itself, coming down, I mean, on southbound and even northbound, it's wavy, and then after a while it collects water in the road, which is, as you know, a recipe for disaster,
yeah,
especially when guys are speeding. So when you travel on roads in Canada, I mean, I just drove in ice. I mean, I just drove in snow about a few days ago. In fact, I had a driving test in Canada, and the driving test was in snowy roads. I passed because,
Okay. Well,
interestingly,
congratulations.
yeah, I passed my Canadian driving test, and very
Nice
interesting.
one.
I mean, it was a hard test because it's so many new things I had to learn there about turn on the left, turn on the right, and turning in the middle of the road, and oh my God, you don't know which is the one to turn and which is the one to just go straight. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, come back to the roads, and I mean, when you have those icy roads and the change in weather, you know, it's you see they continually leveling the surface, so the water pretty much runs off the road, and anywhere you see any water collects, they within a short space of time they go and fix it. You know, the other thing about roads, which I find is much different here, is that lighting. A lot of the areas, for
Oh,
example, at the
yes.
ramps and the intersections are not well lit. And I mean, when I did my trauma, I had set up what is called a injury surveillance system in San Fernando when I was the head of the emergency department for almost 8 years, 9 years almost. I was the head of the trauma unit at San Fernando, and I had set up what was called the injury surveillance system, where we did a research in which we were logging all injuries, and we had someone who was recording, you know, on a daily basis all the notes that came in and were filling up the files, and the doctors were asked to fill out the injury surveillance form. And we compared it, and we were working with the University of Ottawa, and at that time it was CAREC, you know, the Caribbean
Hmm.
Research.
I've been
Now I think it's CARFA, you know,
Mhm.
and we actually were looking at real data, and we were going to form a trauma registry, and in that we were already beginning to see trends. For example, which part of the highways had more accidents, more morbidity. Now, as you all know, morbidity is like the tip of is like an iceberg. You know, the tip of the iceberg is mortality. We were seeing deaths. Pretty much, we got some of them that died before they reached the mortuary. Some of them died and they were taken to the Portsmouth mortuary for autopsies. But the ones that came in and died in hospital, when you check the numbers, you know, we were looking at areas like Canada. I don't know if you know the Gasparilla area, just south of the Gasparilla area.
Yeah.
Then
Mhm.
there's the Claxton Bay area, you know,
Hmm.
and a lot of the accidents were we were confirming were taking place in certain areas of the highway, and you know, lighting was a problem at a lot of the ramps, right? And then we also confirmed an international global statistic where people died closer to home, you know, and all of that is in keeping with international global data that most accidents occur at intersections. Most accidents occur in poorly lit ramps and intersections, you know, and a lot of accidents occur when the engineering on the road, in association with other extrinsic factors to the vehicle and the driver itself, you know, all things being equal,
Correct. Correct.
is a cause of severe is an epidemic. Motor vehicle collisions is an epidemic, and Trinidad at one point in time had one of the, I think was the 15th highest in motor vehicle collisions globally. You know, so we have a lot to do with our roads, Ken. And the
Yeah.
answer to that is very simply no. It's now that I have ability to drive on roads that are in conditions that have, you know, where you have to have proper tires, as you know, you have to have winter tires to drive in winter, and there's new tires called
All weather.
all season tires
All,
now. You know,
yeah.
Hmm.
and I mean it's amazing. I mean it tells us that we have a lot to do in this damn country, and I mean I for one would like to tell the Minister of Transport, for example, that we have to revise a lot of our regulations. You know, a lot of the things that we're doing on the road, for example, turning at a intersection. I mean, I drive, and I was in C3 yesterday, and there's these four all stopper, four to a junction with all stops at all four roads, right?
Hmm.
The two roads that cross, and people don't understand that whoever reaches first at the intersection is given the
Oh,
right away. And in
yes.
Yeah.
Trinidad, they just rush you, and you
Yeah.
stop there and you look at it, and this is in our regulations. And the other thing is around roundabouts, Gary. People don't know
Mm.
how to drive around roundabouts here. I'm afraid
Yeah,
they don't,
yeah. I
and they
was there.
quarrel with
I
you.
seen it. I seen it.
Yeah, they quarrel with you when you
They'll
do the right
watch you in
thing.
your face
Yeah,
and pull straight up in you. Let me tell you
I tell
something.
you, a man nearly run me down the other day and just waving his hand, and he did the absolutely wrong. He entered the roundabout, and I was on the roundabout already. You know, and he
Yeah.
guzzled me. Oh my
And
God.
and Dr. Ramrup, You know,
Yeah.
we had a case in the news here
Yeah.
where a new roundabout in um Diego Martin there, where that mall is there.
Yeah, no, Westmall.
West
Starlight,
Mall. Yeah,
Starlight.
Yeah.
right.
A
Starlight,
little
yeah.
further down, yes. Yeah.
And the contractor was actually in the process of erecting a wall and they
Yeah.
had to remove it.
Uh,
Now that wall, apparently, based on what I gathered,
yeah.
would have constituted to be a side block.
Well, yeah, it
You
would
know,
have impeded the vision of
so
the where you wouldn't have been able to see across
the safe
across
side
the roundabout.
distance
That would
coming
have
around that
defeated the purpose
roundabout,
of the roundabout. Oh my God.
correct, and
Jesus
that is a
Christ.
safety hazard,
My
right?
God.
Now, hey, you could build something, but you have to keep it at a certain height to
Yes.
not impede or
Yeah,
block
you can't you
the
have to
safe
see
side
the other end.
distance.
Yeah.
Visibility,
Correct,
man.
correct.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
if
God.
if a vehicle is immobilized in somewhere on the roundabout itself,
Yeah.
and there's a wall or something blocking your sight, and you cannot see because remember you can't see
Yeah.
around a corner, around a
Correct.
curve, right?
Right.
You can only see straight, and you are maintaining that speed, not knowing that there's a vehicle that's broken down in the lane there and traffic has stopped, right?
Right.
And you're moving at the same speed around that roundabout.
Hmm.
You're gonna create a collision, or you're gonna come close, and your
Right.
reaction time, right,
Yeah.
is reduced. You know,
Yeah. Huh.
so sorry, you have less time to react.
Yeah. Huh. Gary,
So
you were
so
going to say something? I think Gary was saying something. And I don't know.
Yeah, I no, I had a couple of experience, but
Yeah.
in 2010 I came home for just a little while before the elections, and I remained back for about 3 months.
Mm.
But my wife and kids came down, and it was the 4th of July around that time. Anyway, they wanted to see the Temple of the Sea,
Mm.
by and by the sea there, and I took them, and I was entering that area, and there happened to be a funeral, and I think there were several funerals. Anyway, there were cars parked on the side of the road, so this guy with a pickup truck rushed me, and I said,
Mhm.
"Hold on, brother. Let me just move aside to give you the pass." He said, "You don't have to move in. I will move you with this." He was gonna move me with the pickup truck. I mean, the pickup truck bigger than the car. You understand? He said, the man, give me me to finish my conversation. He said, "You don't have to move. I'll move you with this." You
Yep.
know.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yep.
is,
Yep. Yep. That's the country we live in. There's a lot of cultural changes, boy.
but I
And
have
then you have
just
people
been,
parking their cars, the junk cars, and they're repairing cars on the side of the road. And you try to move aside to let somebody pass, and the other person rushing you like them at the right away.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I have
Yeah.
never seen this amount of aggressive driving
Hmm.
during this past 3-4 months I've been here. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, they're wrong. You know they're wrong, but they don't know they're wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you're
But
driving.
TTPS has a lot of explanation to give. We in government now, and I demand those
Well,
explanations.
yeah. I think that clearly. This is why I'm hoping that I know I mean I know the Minister of Transport very well. We worked together for almost 3-4 years together when the Prime Minister had her annual Christmas treats. Myself, Peter Kanhai, and him, and Vishnu Bal Roop, and we all were the ones who Angie, we all were the ones who were helping the boss, go around the country and give out the treats. So we worked very closely together. So the thing about it is that it's clearly that there are a lot of things that really needs to be enforced by the police, which is what Gary is talking about. And there's a lot of not new, but things that I saw when I was learning in Toronto, which could be applied here, and which, if enforced, could cut down a lot of the nonsense. After one of the biggest problem we have here, Ken, and I'm sure Sumant, is wrong intersections. We are lucky we could cross intersections here. When we cross an intersection, we had to thank God,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, you come out
we
alive.
live. Yeah, it's a,
No.
it's a madhouse. So
But Doc, I have my reservation because I'll tell you what.
yeah.
let's say for the past 25 years or so, I'm sure all these government ministers travel. I don't care which party you belong to. You have traveled. You have gone on the highways, whether in England, in UK, Canada, US, and so on.
yeah.
There is no rest stop along the way, boy. Nowhere you could pull aside,
Mm,
off the main
yeah.
highway. Somebody's pregnant or somebody's sick and they're taking and they want to vomit or use the
Yeah.
washroom or something.
Yeah.
Nothing. And looking at our traffic these days, 3.5 hours to pass about the town.
Hmm.
3.5 hours of the MP is complaining.
Yeah.
MP Tancus told me, he said, boy, 3.5 hours going there, 3.5 hours back. That's 7 hours of your life right there.
Yep.
Yeah? Not to mention the aggravation and the bullshit you have to put up with on the roads.
Lost productivity.
If lost product, by the time you reach, you're kind of half tired. Serious. I have to grab something to eat or eat in the car while you're stuck in traffic or something like that.
That's one of the greatest thing that I feel I ever do in my life was try to lobby for my son to leave Mount Hope and come down south. I had to beg somebody to give him a job here because that man
Welcome, Captain
driving
Singh. Yeah.
safe driver, and he hit the he slipped away twice on the road, and he hit the car once. So that is that what you're saying is really thing, eh?
I went through that in all my younger days. I live in here at 4 o'clock in the morning just to beat the traffic. That ain't going. I can't do that. These things. That's why I prefer to go into Tobago and work for 1/3 salary.
Yep.
I'm not more than 5 minutes, from my home there to any place in Scarborough.
Man, you complaining? Try driving from New Jersey to Florida.
Yeah, but we know that.
Come on, man. I'm sure one of you guys had to do it.
I
I know Captain Singh did it.
I did it too.
I did it several times.
Yeah.
I did it from Washington to Miami.
Wow. I don't think I could do that. Not now.
Yeah. And that is my school days from DC back to Washington to Miami and back to school again. Yeah, but at certain times in the life you could do it, but not again. Not at
I used to like to drive long time, but boy, I only had to get a license in Canada because really and truly, my daughters and them don't have license, and again, I just want to show them that they could get it, and it's easy, it's not hard, and I want to show. I mean, they have been there since A-level, and both of them, well, they were living in the city, giving them that, and you don't really need a license in the city so much. But I mean, eventually they would have to have children, they have to come out, and, so they have to. I mean, you have to have a license. I mean, so that's why I really went up to try to see if I could get them on board, and I mean, I learned a lot, and I feel that a lot of those things could be applied here for young drivers. I think somebody had made a comment that we need to cut our license and probably do it in 3. You have your learner's permit, then you have what they have, what is called a G2 there, and G2 is like you go through another test, and then you have to drive with people and then you get your last test, which is your G, I think that is one thing. And then at these intersections, we don't really have, like these arrows to tell you to go right or go left. I think we should insert a 4th light in some of these busy intersections where people die, especially on the bus route and thing, where people crossing the bus route don't want to make a left. They should now make a left on a green, a green arrow. So we have to have a 4th light at some of these intersections. And we have to teach people to go on the intersection and then wait until the cars, pass and then make your left, rather than trying
that
to
arrow
rush
light
the
is
traffic.
very essential. That arrow light is highly
big
essential.
time. That's a big helper. That's a big helper because sometimes when you're driving, I don't know if you guys know 6th Street, 6th Avenue in Barata. That was
I know. Yeah.
Because I used to live there, right in the first. I used to live on 6th Street. Yeah, I lived there 15 years.
Interesting.
Right.
Wow.
And that was always a sore point. Traffic, guys tired, get into accident, turning in from 5th Street to go across to the eastern main road, cutting across the bus route.
Right,
don't
right.
know how, it's a scary situation there. Until
Yeah,
they stopped it altogether. No terms.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a really sore point.
yeah. No, I think so. I think, as you say, Gary, we're in power now. I early in this group, Ken, before you had come on, is that we had discussed one of the things that could keep a government in power for 10 years. Um, a lot of stuff came out after where they want to build all these fancy buildings and whatever, and we didn't really see that causeway that we talked about from Chaguanas to West Mall, to down
The boardwalk, the
to the
boardwalk and
peninsula, right? And we didn't see that, and we're hoping that through Chaguanas we could probably get that on the table as a priority, because I can tell you, if you within the next 4 5 years at least begin to show people that you could cut down that time anywhere from, let us say, Kuva, because sometimes that traffic backs up from Kuva. Right now, with the when they
yes.
open the 4 lanes, it has helped a wee bit, but not much. And I can tell you, if you can show people that you can cut down that transit time by half, you know what I mean? You are going to create a country that is going to worship you for the rest of their life. That's one. Two, right? You will create less stress in this country, because let me tell you something. It manifests in other ways. You
Hmm.
keep on driving, and there are certain people who are different, and their stress, the limit is reached, and they take it out on their households. They take it out on their family. They take it out on other people. They become angry drivers. When they come back close to home, you understand? So it does. It does. I mean, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just transferred. It's just mental energy and mental stress is just transferred to another form of taking out that stress. That's mental illness, that as we know it. So I'm hoping that maybe somebody listens to this team. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated, and I was kind of say, "Oh God, I want to go and raise my pressure up, and talk," because it seems that maybe we're not getting anywhere fast. But I'm sure Gary is positive, and Gary is always, Gary is always extremely positive and passionate, and I think he knows that he's getting somewhere with this conversation. So I am not seeing it personally, but maybe maybe Gary and you guys might be seeing it differently. But I am really seeing, as we talked, we said it before, Christmas is gonna come, and then Carnival is gonna come. And then as a year would have finished, right? A whole year
Easter,
would have
com-
gone,
Easter
right?
comes and that's it.
Right. So a
That's a
whole year
year
would have
gone.
gone. The boss said yesterday that she is going to tell the ministers that next year is not going to be a rest. It's going to be a lot of work. So we are hoping that somewhere along the line, somebody announced to the public that we have plans to cut down that traffic woes on that main highway between Port of Spain and San Fernando. If
And even,
anybody
Well,
could do
and
that,
even,
yeah,
and even
Welcome,
talk,
Dr. Mirage. Just look at your screen,
yeah.
gentlemen. Anybody who didn't get a chance, you could look at your screen. You will see what we're talking about.
even doc, if they make it into a toll road, people wouldn't
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
Instead of 3.5 hours, you could reach in an hour and a half.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
will be
so,
super. Make it into
y-
a toll road. Eventually, it'll pay
yeah,
for itself.
yeah.
yeah,
I
that's right.
as I said, I was when if anybody has gone to Jamaica recently, and I mean within the last 5 years, the Dutch people built a highway, from Kingston to to Ocho Rios. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Right across
And
the country.
yeah, they built it in the
Yeah.
mountains, and they have a toll. You have to pay a toll. And if you see the beautiful road with nice lookouts and thing, enjoying the beautiful mountains, you see.
Mhm.
I mean, Trinidad and Tobago needs a highway to go to Maracas. I mean, I know that Mr. Warner had spoken about something like that. I remember Jack Warner saying
A
that we could
tunnel,
cut a tunnel
tunnel,
through the
yeah.
hills and get access to Maracas. This would increase not just tourism but local tourism and recreation and reduction of all
Doc,
the
is not now I recommending these things, many years,
well,
many years,
and we
I had
said
no idea
yeah.
that people had made previous
Yeah,
recommendation thinking along the same line.
Mr. Warner had said that. He had
Well,
said that.
Mr. Warner was part of our team,
Yeah,
so I made
yeah,
a recommendation to,
yeah,
A
yeah,
tunnel could be easily constructed. You just have to find the
yeah,
most economical alignment,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Based on the
yeah,
geography and stuff.
yeah,
I don't know if
and
we have the expertise home to build that, but we have
yeah,
built several tunnels in New York City, right?
yeah,
Shafts, tunnels, you know.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
but
you go to
this
Japan. Yeah,
causeway,
yeah,
I want to reiterate that I'm recommending if we are able to build it, that
yeah,
we put the security cameras under the bridge to help monitor that Gulf section there, Caroni Swamp, and all of that will come in handy with
yeah,
those
yeah,
people trying to sneak. So we would have that live feed
yeah,
also. I mean, so we won't have to worry about mosquito biting the police.
yeah.
The police could stay on the bridge and don't come down
Yeah,
in the swamp for the mosquito to
yeah,
bite them.
yeah.
So
Yes, amazing. Amazing. And as I said, we had suggested, I mean, I visited Singapore when I was in ODPM, and they have these lovely buses, these long buses, right? Not the double ones, the single buses are the 45, 50 seaters, and where they remove the seats. And in them, they have a washroom, a kitchenette, it's air conditioned, it uses ventilation, right? And it opens up on the side of the bus, opens up now. You can actually come down and create an extra space. And then when you're ready to go, you just press a button, it goes back up, and then the bus, moves. It's a bus. You know what I mean? And what you can do is, the military, they have these bases in South and East and whatever. These bases, they can drop food for these people, and they can be self-sufficient. They can use the drones from there and send the drones, because as you know, drones can only go for a certain distance. So what there will happen is that if you get these buses and you park these buses at certain distances throughout the country, our country is so damn small, right? We could be able to have a grid, a grid that is on one of the command centers that actually links up all of these drones, and we could be looking at our shores on a 24-hour basis. I
you
mean,
remember Suman sending something, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see that, and you do what they do in Miami. I mean, I see it
yeah,
from
yeah,
air, sea,
yeah,
and
yeah,
land.
yeah. And
You
hire
can't get
some of
away.
these.
So when
Yeah,
people want to come and tell me mosquito go bite the police, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Hire. We need to
um,
Wow.
hire.
yeah.
We have a lot of
And
young.
them fellas,
Yeah,
I think we're gonna need some of the U.S. Marines to come down there,
yeah,
because
yeah,
them
yeah,
fellas,
yeah. Yeah, fellas that know how to do it.
them
Yeah,
fellas that bite mosquito, mosquito don't bite them,
Yeah, yeah.
you
But
know.
Gary,
yeah.
So
we have Captain here. Maybe he could give us a little input on that.
Yeah,
Captain
we
Singh.
had cap.
Captain from Caroni, so he know about swamp and mangrove and thing,
Mosquito. Yeah.
Well, when I heard the explanation by the police commissioner, I was a bit taken aback. Um, I think our military personnel, if not the police, but the military personnel, would have been a joint operation where they would sit there, overwatch the drugs, and they could stay there indefinitely if need to be with other technologies. So to get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the
yeah.
swamp, you have the ocean. So you'd have an overwatch at some point in 2 locations, plus people in the swamp itself. And from my experience with mosquitoes, and South Korea had a lot of mosquitoes. Out in Washington State had a lot of mosquitoes. Our uniform is treated with DEET, and we cover all the way up, including our face with camel, and there's some blunt in there. So I'm not buying that explanation from the police commissioner. Maybe just lackadaisical in their approach with the gun, and they need some experienced people to assist them. Now, I'm seeing that United States will be able to land aircraft in the airports in Trinidad and Tobago to
Mhm.
aid fueling and logistics within the air zone in there.
10 minutes again.
So that's a positive. We'll see if that takes place. You will see different types of aircraft coming in for refueling, and I think Dr. Ramroot said the drones that Trinidad and Tobago may have, they may be used with line of sight and limited radius. But with the United States, they have satellite controlling those drones, and they could sit up there on the military satellite grid for up to 72 hours without refueling. And that's a
Okay.
big ask.
But
That's
Alvin,
what
I want to
mentioned.
know, we have these Batimanzels there that I like very much. If you look at the screen,
No,
they could assist the TTPS, with a flyover and bringing in the troops. I mean, these Batimanzels are pretty much, you know them, you dealt with them, you know.
so these were specifically for two things: for the ability to land restricted terrain, and also they convert fast aircraft by propulsion. So the propellers will turn harder and faster in comparison to the Chinook. I have flown in the Chinook in Afghanistan, moving from one base to another, and Black Hawk helicopters. I've flown in those. So for transportation, yes, it makes a lot of noise, but it would be ideal to drop troops in. So you'll have or the Navy will be amphibious. They'll drop in the water with a small uh, boat, and they'll be able to make their movement from there. Or they'll have people in the swamps, snipers, overwatching, and ghillie suits. And that's as simplest as you get without having to use this aircraft. You can go with this operation. The swamp is not very big. Carrying the swamp is not in comparison to terrain that the soldiers will be in. So if it's a soft spot for drugs and coming through along the coast, that's not the only point. Other swamp areas down in our so you could imagine over the Arctic, the Calibi area and that area. If we look at it, more operations need to be conducted there. But it's good news that that the U.S. airplanes can land, aircraft can land and refuel, and they have a good runway at Piaco and a good runway at the airport in Tobago, A&R Robinson Airport. So I think those are two good airfields. There are the helicopters can land in other places, restricted areas. So
Like
that's
Cedrus. In fact, we have that Cedrus area there is open and wide, a lot of space. We could, in fact, the military could create a landing strip in a short period of time, if they needed to. But the helicopters and them could go, in and out without any disrupting civilian life, in those areas because they have plenty space out there.
yes, and also
Yeah.
of course we have those oil rigs. So the oil rigs they have helicopter platforms that they could use also if they need to be out in the uh, on the eastern side, and then on the southern side, they can also do that. So it's good all the way around. I see only good things coming out of this um, for the operations to continue and for the operations to be more efficient.
Captain, I have a
And
question
also
when you
training
finish.
with the Air Guard. And yes, no, go ahead.
Captain, we
Yes,
were
Ken, go
talking
ahead.
earlier before you came on, and we know that Venezuela, right, and Russia, Iran, and China, I mean, they're all partners, right? They share military expertise and intelligence and technology and stuff. And China and Russia has hypersonic missiles. What if there's a possibility that they could have already equipped and supply these hypersonic missiles in Venezuela, how would that, what sort of level of threat would that pose to Trinidad and Tobago, seeing that we just 7 miles off the coast? And would the US have the capabilities to intercept, right, before it caused any sort of damage?
Yes. The possibility of that happening is, I don't think there's a possibility of that happening at all. That Venezuela would arm itself with that sort of missiles, because this is zone America consider its own. And if they were to be smuggled in, I will tell you this, Ken, that the United States capability for satellite image has been going on continuously. So any movement, they would have known already. The site would have to be outfitted for that, those missiles be placed in spot. Any movement would have been detected already.
Yeah, well, I think they will be more focused on attacking the U.S. than directly attacking Trinidad. They might use small arms for Trinidad, but I don't think they would want to use missiles towards Trinidad. You know,
Well, Trinidad and Tobago is not a threat, and there's no reason.
unless they're firing on U.S. military assets. You know, that's something different.
Right, and if they were to do that, the United States would take precautions. We have several different pieces of equipment that could be used to bring missiles down, and those will be in place. It will be in place in strategic locations. I'm not worried about that at all. Even from the ships out there, they'll have the technology to sense anything that's off. But then, almost 100% certain satellites are out there. You have a particular airplane that flies around up there would be flying around undetected, and it's quite sophisticated. What's in there is really sophisticated. That it does a lot of things. I can tell you that. So I have no fear and concern of any kind of missiles being over there and any attack on Trinidad and Tobago at this time or in the future, because you'd have to breach a lot of rules, international rules, by attacking Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM people, that is what they're trying to harp on, that because it's a military asset and radar, it becomes to be more than that. And if we are not showing any type of threat against Venezuela doesn't have the attackers. If they do, then all the gloves are taken off. National law by attacking a peaceful country. For everything that the United States is doing with the training, it's training, and they are starting running from in the ocean. They have, they haven't gone inside Venezuela to do anything. So there's a lot of questions. In South Korea, every year, summertime, there's a huge show of force with all the military in South Korea, and American forces there, and they do an exercise that run up to the up to the top to the north and then back down. That happens every year, and you have China, Russia, and the North Koreans right there. Nothing happens, and I think most people don't even know that happens every year. So Ken, no, I don't think it's going to be a threat. I don't think anyone's smuggled any kind of missiles to be placed in Venezuela to attack Trinidad and Tobago, and all that posturing that's happening with Venezuela, it's just posturing for their people and their propaganda. They surely ain't going to threaten the United States. Trinidad had nothing to do with the seizure of that vessel that was taken out a couple of days ago. Nor has it attacked any of those drug running boats. The United States has, but I haven't seen the president there come out and condemn that and such like it's saying with Trinidad and Tobago. If that's the true statement, I haven't heard anything from Venezuela, but that's what's being reported. So Ken, to alleviate your fears, no, I don't think missiles over there, nor will it be a threat to Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, good, perfect. At least we get that cleared up.
Yes.
But I know you mentioned, the U.S. military likes to keep it the historical date, and we have to look
Yes.
at December 20th.
Yes. Yes. But again, I'll say this: the president has a certain amount of time in office. So if his intention is to remove um, the president of Venezuela, he has a window to do it in because elections will become up quickly. In his third year, he becomes pretty much a lame duck after that. So um, if this the pressures to have um, Maduro step down that way, I don't know how much he's willing to go with pressure and the stepping down of the Venezuelan president. I don't know. But what we could do is look at the historical aspect of what happened in December of 1989. And I had some friends who were older than me, and they came in and they told me about what they had done when they had taken the airport. And it was a quick 30-day mop up operation there. So if enough pressure is placed, and it's a quick turnaround over there in Venezuela, like Panama. Um, then historically, it was done quickly and was cleaned up quickly. And I think Panama is a stable country now. So I think we can wait and see. But we are doing everything that we can as Trinidad and Tobago citizens uh, by supporting the government in its efforts to um, to have this relationship with the United States and all the help that we can get to stop this drugs that's passing through Trinidad and Tobago and causing a lot of killings, a lot of murders were happening, and a lot of people, would be affected by this drug that goes to Europe and States. So I think it's a good thing that the drugs are slowly it's happening that it's going to be stopped. After this long period of no one actually attempting to do anything. And we know how corrupt Trinidad and Tobago has been over a period of time when it comes to policing and law enforcement with drug situations. They've had many drug reports and nothing came out of it. And it's taken a country like the United States to step in and stop this from happening. So I am happy that is going to happen because I have a personal stake in this. I have two boys here, and they're in school, 8 and 4, and I wouldn't want them to get involved in any type of drugs and end up dead or addicted here. So I think that we should all, as parents, hope that the efforts go well. Ken?
Certainly, definitely. Drugs is a poison the entire planet, right?
Gary?
And it's causing so many social problems, right? Crime, addiction, you name it, you know. So, but the amount of drugs, the volume of drugs that we have intercepted so far in a short space of time, it shows you the amount that has been trafficked through the islands to to Florida and Europe, right? Because I know a lot of drugs comes in through Florida. You get it through just off the east coast there. There's some islands, Bimini. You know, it's just a few miles off the coast of
Alvin, check your mic. Check your mic.
check your
Yeah.
mic, Alvin.
Yeah.
The ones that drugs gets into the Bahamas, it's already in the US, right? Um, and Trinidad being just 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela, it makes us it positions us. We are the ideal position, right? To just bring that drugs, refill your boat, drop off what you have to drop off, pick up what you have to pick up, and you go your merry way again, right? So
Eh,
I think
eh,
that needs to be stopped. And with a porous border, that wasn't stop slowing down anytime soon, right? The borders were left open for 10 years.
Somebody
Anybody
mic,
could
I
have.
don't know, somebody mic is squeaking. I don't know. Ken, check your
No,
mic if it
my
moves.
mic is good.
Yeah, okay. I will check your
Yeah.
mic here. Something is moving.
I had a little echo there. So yeah, so we have now the U.S. presence, and it's really a big plus for us. We don't have to pay for that security, right? And we have been reaping or seeing the progress with the drug hauls, right? In less than 24 hours, we picked up, intercepted close to $250 million in drugs, 200 maybe $50 million worth of drugs. So it's a big plus.
I think them guys dropped out, but Dr. Mirage, you want to respond to anything as yet or no?
You hear me? Yeah, no.
Yeah, I hear behind you.
Oh no, I'm just listening because I know what you guys are talking. They're talking about the Venezuela, Trinidad, America situation. I understand what's going on, so I prefer to listen in this occasion because I really hadn't add. Let me just say one little thing, quick thing. I think some of you, I heard someone just mention that all is well that ends well. That is, we have everything to gain and really very little, or if any, to lose. We have a lot to lose. We're losing a lot. I mean, the neighbors in the Caribbean who really are up in arm against us, So we have to negotiate with the Americans and tell them that we are also under pressure, so we have something to lose. I'm saying that's how you negotiate. That's the point I'm making. But what you all saying, I agree with what you all are saying. Somebody mic is singing.
Somebody mic is a little
Yeah. I've been checking
patchy.
mic. Mute the mic until you're ready to talk. Maybe it's yours. Yeah.
So in every negotiation, you gotta hype up your side of the bargain. I mean, I want to let the Americans know that we in Trinidad are suffering tremendously as well for this partnership that we formed. We are happy to have it, but at the same time, all that glitter is not gold. We must also let them know that we are going through a course of supporting them, but we're happy to do it, and nevertheless, because the pros and cons way in favor of Trinidad and Tobago and all of this, but we got to mention the negative side of it also. That's how I see it anyway. You all can see it differently, but all is not well.
Well, Doc, I'd rather lose the Caribbean as friends than the US,
No, I
because
know.
the US is our biggest investor, right?
Yeah, but I think
And
Captain
all of
Singh,
them who back in, have their tongue hang out for the US to feed them. So they only back in because they're supporting the PNM and trying
yes.
to go along with what the PNM is saying to blow
Yeah.
gas into a situation and ignite
Oh,
it more. When
tactically,
not one of the
we can
Caribbean
also.
countries can go independent against the US, so they should shut up.
No, we're on the right track. But what I'm saying is that we also have to negotiate as the downside to us.
No.
There's
Let
no
me tell you
downside.
something. The
That's how we
negotiation we
negotiate
do,
anyway.
negotiation we do is to tell them fall in line, fall in. All right,
Yeah.
because Trinidad is grabbing the bull by the horn.
Yeah.
Our prime minister is grabbing the bull by the horn, right? And she's making a tough decision to deal with this situation, and this is the way you deal with it. You have to go, you have to confront the situation, you have to leave it force. This artificial zone of peace. What zone of peace? How many families has gone missing? How many people get shoot down in the streets? We either in a gang fight or somebody come to rob you. I mean, what zone of peace are they talking about? We have a zone of war.
So
That's correct. We're in a war zone.
Captain Singh spoke about the lame duck president that's to come. That might happen before you know it, because as soon as the next election comes around,
You talking about which lame duck president? Which one?
The one currently will be lame duck. I think that's what he said. What Captain Singh was saying just now.
Captain, you want to clarify that?
But hold on. You clarify after. Wait, let me just make this little point and I'll sit down, be quiet. So before we get to that point, you might find that the Congress would give the president or whoever is making these decisions a hard time after the midterm election, which will happen in November. So that might be even before the actual president becomes a lame duck. He might have divided government, would mean that there'll be questionable. Some of the Democrats are also against this activity in the Caribbean Sea. So they might put a little pressure on whoever the same president. It may not be easy going as it normally is. That's all I'm saying. So I agree with what Captain is saying, but also that it might even before that lame duck, which is the last 2 years, it could happen from November next year.
But
That's all.
beside
But
that,
that,
Dr.
that is
March,
and the president will still have his way. The kind of guy he is, he'll shove his way through. That's how he operates anyway. So
yeah,
so
but
that
beside that, what I am looking at is that the way we have to address this thing is we can't pet them with a pillow and say, "Oh, don't do that now, boy. Behave on yourself now." We have to take an aggressive course of action and putting in and we don't have all the resources that the United States can give us at this point that is allocated to us there to monitor the situation, to respond effectively, right? We look at the amount of assets that we have surrounding there right now, right? If you look at your screen, I mean, surveillance equipment and enough equipment to respond very effectively to shoot down any missile, to detect anything, that will be a threat. We have enough resources there to back us up at this stage that Trinidad and Tobago could never afford. I mean, we couldn't even afford to fly the 6 helicopters that we had, according to Dr. Rowley, right? So I mean, I mean, you just seen the transport helicopters here. You haven't seen the attack helicopters yet. That can fly off these carriers there. I mean, Captain Singh can elaborate more on those capabilities.
so
But
so so that I understand what you're saying, and that's where you're looking at a Venezuela American confrontation. But from a Trinidad perspective, the objective for us is to keep the drugs out of our territory and
keep the
all the
drugs,
kind of
secure the
illegal
border,
activity.
secure
That
the
is
border.
our
Their
that is our
presence.
that is our focus, I think.
Yeah, our focus. What happens between Venezuela and the United States? That's between them. Our prime minister is not getting involved with that. What she's getting involved with is securing Trinidad and Tobago border and accepting any presence of resources that can help deter. I always talk about deterrence, and the thing about it is there's the presence of these assets from the U.S. Is putting a strain on some people cash flow, and without them doing anything. That's the fact that they're being there. That is the fact that they're being there that is creating some distress for the normal flow of business. And I appreciate seeing that, and it's something I always wanted to see. Now on the other hand, I mean, if we get a government change in Venezuela, we know Maria Mercado won by 90% of the vote, and the man refused to step down. He pulled a stunt like what they did in Guyana there, where they was refusing to step down, right? So let the U.S. and them deal with that. If the U.S. is using our country for refueling, and Venezuela feel that they can attack us for that, then they got another thing coming for them, because I am very confident that the U.S. assets is capable of responding swiftly. And so I ain't worried about that. I am more interested in securing Trinidad and Tobago border, just like the Prime Minister. And our relationship with the United States is worth more than our relationship with the Caribbean, because none of them
That's right.
Caribbean countries could stand on their own, because they all
Right.
float on the US dollar.
So we pick a side, really. We pick a
Well,
side
we pick a
against the
side, and
Caribbean.
is either them falling or they fall
So
out.
so that is what we lose. We lose the Caribbean in favor of America. So that's fine.
What,
But we
no,
we want the Americans to know
economically is in
that.
our best interest. What can the Caribbean do for we?
That's right.
What they can really do for it? And let me tell you something. Those countries will see for themselves and cut us up in a minute. Okay? they will see for themselves because their country and their dollar floats on the U.S. dependent on the United States dollar. Number one, right? And they all had a tongue hanging out, like the Tostina Desert there for U.S. dollars, right? They all depend on U.S. currency. So what back they back in, you know? Let them back, man. We don't have to listen. They will either follow the lead of our prime minister and fall in, or don't. But we making our decision to secure ourselves because we are 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. We are affected directly by the influx of their people who is suffering. We are affected directly by the illegal trade because those people are desperate and they bring in anything they can and sell through our borders. We have been affected by goods from Trinidad leaving, our resources leaving Trinidad undetected. There's a lot. Could you imagine how many raw crude oil left Trinidad without anybody knowing, and gone somewhere else in that unsecure border? Could you imagine how much gravel from the gravel pit left Trinidad, or sand, or anything else, and cross the border? Can we really tell? So I am focused. I think the Prime Minister is in the right direction. She has taken a lot of suggestions from many of us, and she's taken a strong stance. And I stand with her 100%. I am not a bit concerned about CARICOM. CARICOM has to fall in line. Either they fall in or fall out. That's the way I see it. I have a message from Dr. Mulilal. I would like you guys to listen. 1 second. Let me just play that here. So let's go here. Okay.
This is Dr. Rudal Munilal, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. I have taken note of a statement purportedly issued by the government of Venezuela. Let me begin by saying that the Venezuelan authorities should direct their complaints to President Donald Trump, as it is the United States military that has seized the sanctioned oil tanker. In the meanwhile, we continue to have very peaceful and fraternal relations with the people of Venezuela. This statement is just an example of propaganda. We have never depended on Venezuela for natural gas supplies. We have adequate reserves within our territory. We are working to reduce bureaucratic barriers so that we can speed up approvals and license and so on for the energy companies. The real issue is the bureaucracy and red tape has been hindering over the years operation and production. Yeah, that's what I'm talking by this press release. I find it an act of hypocrisy as well. So the government of Venezuela continues to engage with the USA, and it is Chevron that is today exporting heavy crude oil to the refiners in the US Gulf Coast. So they continue to do business in the oil industry with the United States, but then make these rash, these reckless and erroneous statements about Trinidad and Tobago. I condemn it. It is propaganda, and we will continue to work with our partners in the region and elsewhere so that we will collaborate and build and rebuild our energy industry after the collapse of the last 10 years under the PNM administration. After the decline in production in oil and gas, we are finally on the right track and have recorded increases in both oil production and gas production.
Okay, gentlemen, let's hear your response to that.
I think they're saying that the deal is off. The contract they had recently in the negotiation about that's the one that the PNM says that they had it sealed and they unsealed and whatever. Is that the same one they're talking about, right?
Well, basically, not only that, but whatever deal, I guess, I don't know the full details, but Dr. Molina is basically saying that it would not affect us because we are not totally dependent on Venezuela. Right. I mean, Venezuela is a player just like everybody else. Well, we have adequate resources within our own territories that we can work with, and it would
Yeah.
not cause much of a concern, if that's the way she, wants to go with it.
Yeah, but we got to identify who the sources are. I don't think Guyana has that kind of oil. They have oil, but they don't have
No,
gas.
we're not even talking about Guyana. We're talking about what is within the TNT territory.
Oh,
We're not
within our territory. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
we're not even referring to Guyana yet. Guyana is outside our territory. So
I
what
don't
we are
think they have,
referring to is
I
we
don't
have
think they have
enough gas
natural gas.
supply. In
I don't think
fact,
they have
Dr.
natural
Maraj,
gas in Guyana.
yeah. Well, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, they have been identifying certain areas that wasn't being identified while the PNM was
Yeah,
in government.
yeah,
And
the
so,
ocean, right in our ocean, our borders.
right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those things were pushed under the carpet, because PNM refused to, or maybe didn't know how to handle
Because
it, and this kind of.
because you need that natural gas. You know why? The natural gas is about $5 above the budgeted price. And the more you can get from there, what you're losing in the petroleum, you'll gain in the natural gas. So Mondial is on the right track, but they gotta have results, really. I mean, promising is good, but results is better. You gotta have some results.
Well, I mean,
Or else
he's not
there'll be
talking about
problem.
promises. He's talking about what he has been brought to his
So
attention.
that is why, and that's one of the reasons why they downgraded recently, because in the short term they can have a little problem, but long term they could be okay. If all of these promises come on stream, then the upgrade of the credit rating they got. And I have a different story about those things, but we talk about some other time of the credit rating business that people in Trinidad got stuck on. No, no, what the hell they're talking about? But Trinidad people, they just following each other, and you have nothing new to add. That's why I say in UNC America would say things that Trinidad are saying plus. But I will talk about it another night because I feel like people might be getting a little tired by now. I'll talk about the
Okay,
credit
so
rating and the situation, the economic, financial situation that
right.
is confronting Trinidad and Tobago. We'll
Yeah,
talk
well,
about that
prepare
some other.
yourself and let me know when you're ready, whether it's tomorrow or the other night. Then just let
It
me know
might
when
be
you're
soon,
ready.
but it should be. I came a little too late tonight, so
Well,
we'll
like
talk
I said,
tomorrow.
tomorrow night we can do that if you're ready for it. Just let me know whenever you want to do it. So, Dr. Ramrope, you there?
Hi,
Anybody?
yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
You're able to hear Dr. Munila's response, right?
Yeah, yes, I heard. Yeah, I heard.
So
Well, lost some of it.
we are
I
not
was,
limited.
No,
yeah, I
I
lost some
mean,
of it.
it's
Yeah.
it's I mean it's a inevitable response, if I may say so myself. So we just have to see how it goes. I do agree. I sat on many of the diplomatic. I mean, when I was for 6 years, about 6.5, almost 7 years, I was in Geneva. I sat in Washington at diplomatic meetings representing I was the technical representative of my country. There were ambassadors and ministers there who were present, and CARICOM was never a very strong entity. In fact, we were laughed at in circles, in Europe and globally, when people talk about CARICOM. It was a joke. So CARICOM has never been able to unite and come up with one common ground, and it is because of all the different sovereignties and of the people themselves in many of the islands, and a lot of them, when it really comes to crucial decisions, the vulnerabilities, pretty much outweigh the decision making, although the head of state would say something and CARICOM would say something else. So I pretty much understand what Dr. Maraj is saying, but at the same time, at this point in time, our vulnerability as a country so close, would mean that we would have to really logically look at what is our best option, what are our best options. The economic statements made from Venezuela is clearly a reactionary one, because they're obviously feeling the pressure of the U.S. presence. So they would have to say that. It's like people cornered. They will lash out, and clearly we are very strategic, and in terms of not just economics, but in terms of strategy. And in terms of risks such as warfare, I think we clearly have an advantage for the US to be our, and for them to be our allies. So I guess we're gonna see how it plays out. Let's hope good sense prevail, and we I think our prime minister has had no other option, and I think that we need to support her and see how it goes. Well, her government, our government.
she's taking the bull by the horn. She's taken
But
she
she
has taken
has
a lot of
to.
advice,
She has to. She has to.
right? And she's seen about Trinidad and Tobago first, right?
She has to.
And whether CARICOM agrees with we or disagrees with we, she is doing what's best for Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
and that must be brought to the public domain. And again, what can CARICOM really do?
Yeah.
CARICOM is like a puppy with some small teeth, now getting teeth.
As I said,
So it's nice. So Gary, it's nice for us to say all these kinds of things, but remember what I told you all some weeks back, that what is public opinion about all of these things? You have to gauge that also.
yeah.
Because
With the PNM, with the
if there
assistance
are-
of
no, hold on,
CARICOM
hold on,
and,
hold
and,
on,
and the
Frank.
media is trying to sway public opinion. They're trying to
Right,
dominate what
right.
public opinion should be.
That's
And,
right. So they will do that. They definitely they
so
will do that.
we on this part for this little platform here, we have to fire right back.
So we have to answer them back. And also, let me just say one more thing. Since Trinidad is not, you see, accepting a new partnership doesn't mean a partnership come responsibility and obligations and liabilities, and no matter who the partner is. So just like what did the Venezuelans do? They dropped the idea. So you're thinking that dropping that idea, they wouldn't lose something? Yes, Trinidad was agreeing to give them some profit margin on the extraction. And the only thing the present government of America was telling them is you cannot give it back to the government, but you give it to civil society, NGOs in Venezuela, the profit, whatever comes out. So one of the point is that this is not only Trinidad losing this deal. When they call up the deal, they also have something to lose. So it's not a one way only; it's a two-way street.
But the US is going to
So
strangle them.
Venezuela they were not entering this because they love Trinidad. They were entering it because they have something to get out of it. So they also lose. But we must make that point clear.
Well, the US is going to strangle Venezuela economically before they take any other kind of action. They see they grab the tanker, they're going to cut off the blood supply as much as they can. That's what they're going to do.
So Gary, we also have to think about a post-Maduro era, right? With a different government, a president, reinstated there. And I don't think we will have to deal with this bad blood that we're getting from this present government.
But remember, there are a lot of people, a lot of Venezuelans that stand with us. They're looking forward to
correct.
inside, outside the country. They in the U.S. I mean, I see them speaking out, on various platforms. In fact, I had some clip here that I didn't upload, but they were speaking out about that. So they are Venezuelans in the U.S. that are lobbying for the U.S. help, just like how the Guyanese people did. And the lady Maria Mercado won her election, and she was not allowed to assume power. And I mean, there's a lot of support for the U.S. Dealing with Maduro. And we have made it clear in Trinidad and Tobago we are not involved in that. We are involved in securing and utilizing what resource they give us to secure Trinidad and Tobago. We are not participating in invading Venezuela. We made that very clear. So they could formulate whatever they want to formulate and try. They are working together with the PNM and the press to instigate Trinidad and to indoctrinate them and to intoxicate them into the fact that our prime minister is not in their best interest. That is the game plan with them there. And they are trying to stir up the people and to cause them to panic over the prime minister jeopardizing their life. But the prime minister is seeking the interest of securing your life in the country. And that is what people need to understand.
So I think in a post-Maduro era, we will have a lot to benefit economically, right? And I think that's going to happen. I see a high probability of that happening with the US. The US is not going to deploy all its resources here and not get the job done. So yeah, I am very optimistic, and I think that it will work itself out, and we will definitely benefit in the long run.
Yeah, I think that there is no middle ground in this case. There's
Correct.
absolutely no middle ground. There's you're gonna have to put down your foot and take a very strategic decision, and I think the boss has already done that. I think what we have to do now is that we have to. I mean, obviously, we want to mitigate any sort of disastrous or catastrophic events, but as I see it, as a country, we don't have any choice in this. We're too close to the heat, as it were,
Yeah.
and one of the things it will do, it will cut down the supply of drugs into our country, which was one of the problems that we have had in terms of murders and in our country escalating over the past 5 to 10 years, whether we like it or not. It's I mean, having living under a state of emergency, whether it affects us or not, is a stigma, and it's going to affect us economically. It's going to affect us in terms of our tourism, people wanting to come. A state of emergency hangs over us. We cannot do that inevitably. You understand? So I do feel that, I mean, looking at it on a risk-based analysis of what we're having in terms of our integrated threat assessments, which, as you know, I was very much involved in for 6 years in this country. I do feel that our country has probably taken the better option at this point in time, all things being equal, and we just have to hope that that the good sense prevails. I think if you look at the superiority of armies, you look at the strategic global positioning of our ally now, and who will support and who can support. I don't think it will escalate into like a third world war, but I do feel that it will. I think it will solve it. There will be a solution, which will be pretty much the only way that I see it happening. With all due respects, I do feel that over the next, I would say between the next week or two, I mean, at least before the Christmas, something is going to happen. So I'm hoping for the best, you know.
Anything else, guys, gentlemen? Anybody?
Well, Dr. Ramos summed it up right there, and let's hope for the best. And loss of lives anywhere is a tragedy, right? So we hope that this thing can work its way in a very peaceful way, and Maduro could step down, and the people of
Just in a
Venezuela
worst
can live.
case, just in a worst case scenario, sometimes the after effect of all of these things doesn't end up well. So we hope, again, we're hoping for the best, but hope is not a strategy. So I hope whatever is done from the American side in particular, that damages will be kept to a minimum, and they could solve this without having to fire a shot. That would be the best. Good night, guys.
Certainly.
All right, take a look at this.
Police are arresting man in the Trin City Mall ATM here. They're using this thing on the ground here to take your PIN number. See how much cards they have? And when you leave the ATM, as they walk off, they're taking in their PIN and withdrawing all the money. Two white men, it looks like two pennies.
Well, we all here in the US know too good about that, right?
Oh yeah. That's very
Skim.
prevalent in places like Miami and stuff.
Yeah. Skimming.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap up tonight. All right, and let me know if you guys up to doing anything tomorrow. We'll see what's going on in the country, and then we'll decide, what we want to comment on. Let's see what develops.
Okay, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care.
All righty.
Bye.
It's in bread and ham together with that passion. Ginger beer, punch up grandma story. A glass of local wine when two is head, be two
Good night, Captain Singh.
Night.
You have anything else to add, or we pretty much?
No.
All right, so we'll talk tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Sereno será, ese son de reino de la madrugada. Sereno sereno, sereno será, ese son de reino de la madrugada. Ay, llegalo aquí, que están divididos. Primero es el padre y después salir. Ay, llegalo aquí, que están divididos. Primero es el padre y después salir. Canta, canta, canta. Este parandita, ese sí podía, y venimos adorando al Hijo de María. Este parandita, ese sí podía, y venimos adorando al Hijo de María.
Good night, everybody.